Hello, and welcome to the Pet Health Unlocked podcast. I am Alex Pearson, and I am joined in studio by my good friend and head of medical affairs, Dr. Keith Weingart. Say hello, doctor.
Hello, Alex. It's good to be here with you today.
Yeah, this is fun.
It's exciting.
Keith and I have met face-to-face multiple times, but we've actually never done a recording in studio. So this is a first for us. This is good times. You'll have to bear with us, though, because it is our first. We'll probably look at each other, then the cameras, but this is good times. And we're excited to have Keith here. For all of you that have been listening to our podcast over the last few months, our goal is to try to be as informative as possible, educate our customer base, bring in new customers, and try to educate the best we can about integrative and holistic healing and help people understand who we are. Today, we're going to be talking about immune support. Dr. Weingart and I, over the last few months, few years, have developed multiple products. A lot of them have to do with immune support. With the upcoming changes in temperature and cold weather, I thought it would be good to talk about, in general, the immune system. So, Doc, if you don't mind, let's start with, in general, just describe the immune system in general.
So it's a real small topic here, just joking.
Yeah.
So it is probably, if we look at kind of the immune system, I think of it as one of the more complex systems of the body. And it is involved with all the other organ systems and ties everything together. One of the great analogies or metaphors I always think about that can help us understand how the immune system works is to think about them almost as the army of the body. Their job is to patrol and surveil and find any offending agents or invaders and rally the troops to help prevent those invaders from getting a foothold into the body. So when we look at that as like a mechanistic kind of like back and forth and protection, it can kind of give us at least a basic understanding of how the immune system is working to try and keep us and our pets healthy. Now, the challenge with the immune system is there's a lot of things that can go wrong. And I think that currently the way essentially like our environment that we live in puts a lot of challenges that create overburdened stress. So stress on the immune system can really create challenges for our ability to fight off pathogens, but it can also cause over time a dynamic where the immune system starts to overreact or act on its own cells, as well as being overreactive to things that are in our environment, such as when we're having allergies. So when we look at how we're going to help support the immune system, there's so many different areas which we have to actually intervene to be able to support a healthy and balanced immune system response.
Sure. We talk about gut health, of course, and we talk about all different sorts of things to bolster that immune system. What are the most important foundations to at least begin? Not even supplementation. What would be some ideas you would give a dog owner? Let's say they bring home even a puppy, 6-month-old puppy, or if it's a 5-year-old, what are some of the basic things a dog owner can do, or a pet owner, not just dog owners, but cat owners as well, to help bolster those immune systems?
So I think it's a really good question, and I think it's complex also. But I think one of the things that's oftentimes helpful when you're dealing with complex situations is to try and break it down and keep it really simple. So when we're kind of looking at something like this, I think it can always go back to what I consider my ABCs. So the fundamentals of A is avoid putting things in the body that you don't need to. Okay, that involves overuse of medications, vaccines, pesticides, things that if we do too many of them, that can put a lot of challenges and stress on the immune system and our detoxification pathways. The other thing is be mindful of B, build up the immune system. Work to support a healthy, balanced immune system response. And some of the things that I think are the easiest to do are very free. So that would be like fresh air, sunshine, exercise, engagement with their people and their surroundings, so they have an outlet for their energy, so they're not stressed and anxious and worried. And then also looking at diet. Diet is fundamentally important. As I always say, it's the most important medicine you put in their body on a daily basis. So that's where we have to put a lot of effort towards is like really working to have a clean, healthy, fresh, whole food diet. That's a foundation because our immune system, as we know, gets a lot of information from the gut. So if the intestinal tract is healthy and the probiotic population, the microbiome is balanced and robust and rich, that's going to put a lot of healthy input into the immune system to work in a balanced and supportive way. Now, and of course, if we're saying ABCs, you got to also remember C is being committed. This is not a quick, easy answer. We take a lifetime of building a robust, healthy, balanced immune system response. So you just got to remember that there's no real easy fixes, but if we can remember our ABCs and kind of keep things simple. So diet, fresh air, exercise, and giving them enrichment so there's not stress as an underlying pattern of their challenges.
Do ABCs one more time. See, that's awesome. A, what was it?
Avoidance. Don't put
B.
Build up.
C.
Commitment.
That's amazing. See, this is we didn't even plan this, just so that those are listening. We always, Keith and I, we go over stuff before we sit and talk and, have a pretty general idea of what you and I are going to say. We did not come up with that ABC. I really dig that. I mean, that's awesome.
Yep,
Talk about something as simple that you can simply remember.
Yeah.
And what's neat about those is as you get to know your animal, like you do yourself, it can change. Like you could have 2 dogs in the house and one dog would thrive with walks while another might thrive with something else. And you do need to be committed to that, not be lazy. It's, they're like part of the family. You can't just say, he's sitting in the corner, he's going to be just fine. A lot goes into it. I love that. ABCs. We're going to have to put that on a shirt or something. That's a good idea, man. I like that. One of the questions, too, I had from a customer the other day was, with the upcoming months getting cold, we always equate, well, not always, but human health is a lot like animal health. We have to pay attention to ourselves. The advice that Dr. Keith has given us for our animals, we can give to ourselves. Like, what are we doing when we wake up? We can always equate to animal health. With the upcoming months, is there anything that you would tell pet owners with October, November, December creeping in, where these seasons start changing, that we could do for our pets to make them a little more comfortable?
Absolutely. And I think that's a really good way to approach it, is look at how we can live in rhythm and harmony with what's going on in our environment. And I think as we go through the seasonal shifts that happen as we're coming out of summer and we're out there and as our energy kind of moves inward to protect ourselves in that winter time, there's this general transit and movement of energy that generally is when we start to have manifestations of disease. So I see a lot of patients who have more challenges with those seasonal shifts. And it doesn't necessarily just have to do with cold, because you can have similar challenges as we go from winter into spring. So I think those are the pivotal, important times to do your housekeeping. Make sure that your avenues for detoxification are supported. So that's where our liver support formula can be really helpful. I think of immune support formula as we're going into those challenges, because we always think of like the cold and flu season in the human realm. Well, dogs and cats don't have that as much. Maybe sometimes more cats may have more of those viral upper respiratory infections. But if we can work to boost their innate immunity so that their surveillance of the invading pathogens, whether they're cold or flu or any of those types of things, then we're going to actually set them up for success for those challenges that come with the change in the seasons. So I think something like, for example, colostrum. It's one of Mother Nature's miracles. And I think if we can actually get our pets on something like the liver support or immune support or colostrum during those challenges of time, during those challenging times, that can really help boost their immunity at mucosal surfaces and prevent them from really having the tendencies to upper respiratory infections or advancements into, bronchitis or pneumonia, kennel cough, or any of those types of things.
Sure. Sometimes I think it's really important as well. You mentioned helping and you want to do these things preventatively as well. It's never too late to start, right? Like, if you have a sick dog or a sick cat, great, get the immune support, get the colostrum. But I tell you, if you have a base, I've always told my kid that when we took him to college, take your vitamins, do all this. So when you do get sick, it's not 2 weeks. It's not 3 weeks, right?
Fight it off. Yes.
You get that. Sometimes I wonder, if we're taking the supplements that we need and taking the steps necessary, the diet, the eating well, the supplementation, when illness does arrive, you don't get sick. Sometimes I think,
if you do get sick, I think what you do is your vital force is that immune system, that ability to fight off the disease is going to be emboldened. So it's going to be a much shorter course of disease and you're much less intense. And I think your recovery's quicker and you're less likely to have those like colds and flus that linger, or like those animals who just can't seem to get over the cold for the whole of this, the wintertime. So I think is treating before the problem occurs is fundamental. And I think it's the foundation. So if we can actually treat diseases before they happen, that's the ideal approach to healthcare.
Yeah, and with that comes longevity, right?
Absolutely.
The more if you catch it earlier, the longer you live. And what's that awesome line that Kaylee Miller gave us? Not longevity brings.
It's not adding quantity to the years. It's adding quality.
And that's what we want. And especially with our companion animals, our social media director, Ava, who you guys probably all know, whose dog just came and visited her, 17 years old. 17. That's old. I would love to have my dog around for that long.
Yeah.
And, to do that, we need to take those necessary steps. Before we wrap this up on immunity, is there anything else that you would want anybody on the Thorn Vet community to know about?
Yeah, I think and we alluded to like in my introduction when I was talking about this, but this is a really complicated situation. And we can have times when our immune system is deficient and we can't fight off the things that we need to, but it's really important to understand that the immune system just doesn't have deficiency. There's often times when we can have an overactive immune system. And that can be right in this spectrum of having autoimmune diseases. When our immune system starts attacking our own cells, it's very complicated and it can be very challenging to treat.
Which can be almost worse, right?
It can be almost worse because then you're oftentimes in the conventional realm, they're relying on immunosuppressive medications, things that are going to squelch and suppress that response to allow the system to burn out. But at the same time, that carries its own set of side effects and complications. The other thing to remember too is that allergy, in essence, is an immune system imbalance. So it's your immune system overreacting to things that are normally in your environment, whether it's a food you eat or something like a pollen or a dust or a mold. So when we have this overreactive immune system, that can be as impactful in a negative way on the body as saying not having enough immune system support to fight off things. And then if we look on continuing on that spectrum of how immune system gets screwed up, then we also have cancer. Okay, where the cancer cells, if our immune system is under stress over a prolonged period of time, remembering that chronic stress underlies almost all chronic disease states, including cancer. And when the immune system is under stress for a prolonged period of time, it just takes that time of stress to allow for mutations to occur, for changes to occur in the metabolism of those cells, and then that's when cancer gets a hold. And all cancer is cells rapidly dividing without their normal cell controls. And the other thing that's really important in that dynamic is that the cancer learns how to evade and bypass the immune system surveillance. So it creates even more of a challenging dynamic. So these are all really complicated variables, but I think if we can just remember to keep it simple, remember your ABCs and work on what you can, which is working on the challenges and stresses your pet may have, is supporting those before they become a bigger problem.
Well, 100%. And I hope you all that are listening to this understand the advice that you're getting and it's amazing. The ABCs are super important because if you don't have the base, you're not going to be able to handle what's coming at you if you get cancer thrown at you, right? And if you think about stress in general in your own life and what you've gone through professionally or personally over the years in your own life, stress beats you down. And when you do not take care of yourself, and the thing about our animals is they can't really tell us. It's our job. We have to watch out for them. They're not over there in the corner advocating, hey man, I'm having a pretty stressful day over here.
Exactly.
And my neighbor dog was not the nicest dog, and I'm not digging the way I'm getting treated. But I think as you get to know your animals, that you can see when they're a little more stressed.
No, exactly.
But I 100%, and I never thought about that. You need to be able to tackle and understand the immune system at its basics, at its base, so that you can at least start somewhere and keep that animal healthy. So when you do run into those problems of more health problems, cancer or whatever it might be, you've got that immune system tackled.
Yeah, so it's laying down that foundation of support and then adjusting as needed. And then as Alex made a really important point is like our animals tell us, like they oftentimes, if we're just listening, they're going to tell us. So you can tell when your animal has challenges. So it's like, and picking up on those things before they've been sick for a long period of time can make a huge, huge difference.
Yeah. And one thing, and before we wrap up, I just want all those to know that we're always here. Dr. Weingart's here, medical affairs. We always love working, especially with people that adopt dogs. And that's a whole other topic that we could talk about at another time for immune support, right?
Absolutely.
If you're out there and taking on shelter dogs that are 4 or 5 years old, there's other protocols that we can help with. Like Dr. Keith said, there's mushroom medley, there's colostrum, there's liver support, there's immune support. You could always get into gut health and multivitamins, but there's a wide array of things that we're ready and willing to help with. And it can seem overwhelming, but it's not. I think, as Dr. Keith said, ABCs start at the beginning. And we're always here to help. And we're thankful for all you that are listening. One of the things that we want you to check out on the YouTube channel is we're starting to make more and more shorts where Dr. Keith answers quick questions, 30 seconds to a minute. Everything from, behavioral issues to allergy questions to stress. And we're going to continue to make those. So be sure, as my son says, and your daughter, smash the subscribe button and hit that like button. Come follow us at Thorn Vet Official. We're going to be dropping more and more shorts and more podcasts. And as always, we thank you guys for listening, and pets are the best.
Pets are the best.